Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Monday Musings-Danny SportsWrap as we dive into some games, actually, but all of a sudden that may be coming secondary to the news of the day. What the hope was for today was that we'd be talking about baseball games, we'd be talking about a soccer game or two, we'd be talking about looking ahead to NBA games. Well, now, especially in baseball, how long we're going to be able to talk about games, which seemed such a giddy enterprise over the weekend, is very much in doubt, as on this day, 2 Major League Baseball games have been postponed. The Marlins game, their home opener, has been postponed, and they're staying in Philadelphia, and the Phillies were to go to New York and play the Yankees, and now it's being reported that that particular game will be postponed as well. How long? All the players are being tested. Those tests will come back late tonight, and then we'll see how we're able to proceed, if we're able to proceed, and if the Marlins are able to play, or if the Phillies are able to play. And that all comes in the wake of the Royals getting into action over the weekend, and certainly it wasn't a weekend to get all excited about the prospects of the Royals. They didn't play particularly well, and in the end probably were pretty lucky to get one win. Sporting Kansas City, not lucky to get a win, but when you win in a penalty shootout after a scoreless draw, you got to feel like you are a little bit fortunate, even though Sporting did dominate the proceedings in that one. The NFL is putting out some protocols, and I don't know if you'd call them threats, but thoughts that you won't get paid if you're doing certain things that put you in danger of getting the coronavirus. All these things on the table on this Monday, and things changing by the minute as well on Monday Musings, Danny SportsWrap, right here on the Reasonably Irreverent podcast at DannyClinkscale.com. I'm here with Tim Emerson, the owner of Emerson & Company. And Tim, give us an idea of the range of services that you provide from Emerson & Company.
At Emerson & Company, we do credit card processing, payroll services. We do bookkeeping, merchant accounts like point-of-sale systems.
What would you say differentiates you from other companies in the field, and what makes you special?
I think what makes us unique is that we're a small local business making regional decisions on companies. We create a profile for the business and then put it out to our different vendors in a very competitive environment and tailor those needs to the specific business, which usually ends up in a great fit or great result for the company.
And, of course, the idea is to save money, right?
Save money, and actually sometimes I'm surprised where actually a solution that may cost a little bit more ultimately does save money, but we're not conditioned to think like that sometimes.
Emerson & Company. Check them out at emerson-co.com or call them at 816-360-9092.
Hi, everybody. This is Matt Llewellyn from 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence. I just want to thank everybody for supporting local restaurants during this time of uncertainty. 23rd Street Brewery is now open until this pandemic is over. And right now, more than anything, local restaurants need your help and support. Come on out and see us. 23rd Street Brewery is open now from 11:30 till 9 o'clock for dine-in and carry-out. Whatever we can do to help you out, maybe with your catering needs, too. I appreciate all the support, and thank you for continuing to shop local.
Let's spend a minute with Dr. Brad Woodle, who, along with his wife, Dr. Christina Woodle, the owners of Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture, my home for chiropractic care. And first of all, just tell us about the wide range of services you offer.
Danny, we offer comprehensive chiropractic, acupuncture, physiotherapy, and rehab. We do a very thorough examination, x-rays on site as necessary, and we have a full rehabilitation department, so we can help out with exercises, stretches, different therapies for the complex, but also the very simple conditions we treat.
You have been deemed essential and have remained open all through this COVID-19 process. What are some of the things you've done to make sure that was the case?
From the very beginning, in March, we started to make sure that we were cleaning and sanitizing with EPA-registered sanitizing products. We also implemented masks way before the state required them. We implemented a parking lot waiting room, took out half of the chairs in our waiting room, and made sure to space out visits so we could appropriately meet, discuss, and also screen patients to make sure we were taking care of healthy people.
Find out more about Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture and how they can help you at ASFCA.com.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyClinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
Welcome back, and the Royals are on to Detroit to play a 4-game series, we hope, as they played over the weekend and played in Cleveland. And all in all, I guess getting one win was pretty good. The Royals got that win on Saturday night, and they benefited from the new rule where you put a man on second base when you get into extra innings. The Royals, basically, without a hit, were able to scratch across a run, and then Greg Holland was able to save a game, and so they got the 3-2 victory, and that was a good way to salvage something out of the weekend because the rest wasn't very pretty. The Royals struck out a lot. They looked a little bit sloppy in the field, and they showed the fact that due to the coronavirus, again, and other things, their pitching depth certainly is lacking. They got good pitching performances from Danny Duffy and Brady Singer. More on that a little bit later on, which probably in the end was the highlight of the weekend. And they were able to get that one victory on Saturday. And the weekend went like this. On Friday, Danny Duffy was solid, but he was pulled in the fifth for Scott Barlow. Barlow let Duffy's runners in, but it's hard to complain about a 2-0 loss or blame everything on the managerial move or on Scott Barlow, who instantly became the first villain of the year, when you don't score any runs and you get just 4 hits and you strike out 18 times. And that was the case in a 2-0 loss for the Royals on Friday. As mentioned, they bounced back on Saturday. Brady Singer, certainly the highlight of the weekend, because especially after the way this weekend went, and it didn't exactly encourage a lot of enthusiasm for some kind of a crazy run. It's only 3 games, but the Royals kind of looked like maybe what you'd expect them to look like. So in many cases, it's about looking at things for the future, and certainly Brady Singer is one of those. Pitched into the 6th inning, just gave up a couple of runs, looked strong, worked himself out of the one jam that he did get in, where he gave up the 2 runs. Could have been worse, but he pitched himself out of it, and certainly that was a great sign, and at least the Royals got out of there with that victory on Saturday night, because on Sunday, it was a mess, as Ronald Bayonas was the opener in that, one of the players they got in the trade with the San Diego Padres. He actually threw the ball pretty well. We'll hear from Mike Matheny in a minute on that, but some bad defense cost a couple of unearned runs, and then subsequently Jorge Lopez wasn't any good. Several relievers, most of them not so good, a couple okay, as the Royals were bombed in the game as they lose it by a count of 9-2. And the less they see of Jose Ramirez in general, the better for the Royals. He's just a killer against them. He's a killer against a lot of people, but he hit 7 home runs against the Royals last year. He hit 1 from each side of the plate in this game, and he certainly is a torturous figure as far as the Royals are concerned. But the overall numbers weren't great. Perhaps personified by a Sunday to forget for one Eric Mejia, who had been impressive in workouts and got himself a start at third base for the Sunday game, which somewhat did look a little bit like a Sunday lineup, which was a little surprising, seeing as that we're looking at this as a sprint and not a marathon as far as baseball is concerned. But Mejia had the old golden sombrero, 4 strikeouts, also made an error in that first inning that cost a couple of runs. Just a bad day at the office for him. The Royals struck out 18 times on Friday, 7 times on Saturday, 15 on Sunday. That's 40 Ks, and managed only 15 hits over the weekend. What we feared, at least in the first series, played out. At the top of the lineup, Whit Merrifield kind of looks like Whit Merrifield. Salvi Perez hit a home run. He had some base hits. Jorge Soler hit a home run, although that was his only hit of the weekend. But then after that, the rest of the lineup didn't do much. And I guess the best sign on Sunday, on a really messy day, was that Adalberto Mondesi finally got himself a couple of base hits. He had gone 0 for 8 in the first 2 games of the series with 4 strikeouts, and they need good things to come from him as well. It's almost as if Mondesi is getting to be close to a forgotten figure as somebody who's supposed to be a real impactful player for the Royals, but he got a couple of knocks, and that was a good part of the weekend. But certainly Mike Matheny's assessment of the game on Sunday and the weekend starts off with his assessment of Ronald Bolaños, as I'll probably butcher that name more than once during the course of the year, one of the players they got from the Padres, and all in all, Matheny was not displeased.
He was throwing the ball well. I mean, the stuff looks right. I actually love the long fly, foul home run, and the next pitch is 98, and pounded it into the zone. He's got major league weapons, and I'm seeing him being able to be a part of what we're doing moving forward.
What about the rest of your pen today?
Yeah, we had a couple good ones. A couple, I know guys would like to have another shot at it. It's good to get just about everybody's spikes in the dirt. We thought Stamont was really good. Just seeing him let it go, watching the spin, throw the breaking ball with some confidence. Aspire did a nice job to where we could get him out there for that second one. And right there at the end, I really liked what Zimmer was doing. Ball's coming out of his hands still, just like what we saw. He's controlling the strike zone. He's using all his breaking pitches. I thought those guys in particular did a nice job for us.
When we've seen Carrasco do this before. When he's on, he's about as good as it gets. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen 3 good starters here, and try to get something going, build a little momentum. It was great to see Salvi come through with that 2-out RBI, putting us on the board. We saw some better offensive approaches. It was nice seeing Monty get into a nice rhythm. Franco having the ball jump for him a little bit, but we've had these conversations a lot of who's ahead, who's behind. I think you're seeing on both sides here a lot of chase out of the zone, right? Strikeouts a little bit higher for us in particular. Those guys, they were making pitches when they wanted to expand the zone. They expanded, and they really did a nice job of executing in the strike zone and below. But I think it's going to, the more we see, the better we are going to be. But you had some guys with some good stuff, maximizing, I think, on a little bit of an advantage maybe the pitchers have right now with pitch recognition.
Hey, Mike, on that with Jorge, did you feel like when that ball gets played into an even bigger play than just a single, the momentum sort of got going with him there a little bit, or is it just one of those days where they were hitting some pitches?
Yeah, you always wonder if a play's made, what that turns into with the next play. But that ball was hit hard, and there was some hard contact after. Guys at this level, they know when you face a good lineup. You got to make some adjustments and figure out ways to keep them all balanced, and they're going to give you exactly what you're doing by how they respond and swing the bats. And there were some timed up swings. So Jorge has good stuff, and we know that he has the ability. We've seen it. I've watched him do it here in Cleveland, where he came in right through the meat of that order, trusted his stuff, made good quality pitches at the bottom of the zone, and was sharp with both secondary pitches. So he's got that in his repertoire. Today was just execution.
Mike Mejia's misfire in the first, how frustrating is it given how good he's looked, and he looks every day at that spot?
Yeah, Alec, offensively and defensively, right? I mean, who put better at-bats together outside some of our real young guys? Guys are on our team. Mejia put together the kind of at-bat you want to see every single time he got up there. And you give a guy an opportunity like this, you want to see some of those grind at-bats. Once again, just wasn't picking it up for whatever reason. And they maximized on it by getting ahead and then not even giving him anything in the zone. But defensively, the play made late in the game where you just see that arm. It's such a natural carry he has on the ball, and he's a good defender. He's a plus defender. I think just about anywhere we might put him. And but everybody's got that excitement. I think that's part of it. I don't think Franco was expecting the ball to be thrown off a little bit because he's been. Sometimes a really good defender can almost lull you to sleep because you think how it's going to look every single time. But we got him in a spot that. Obviously, he doesn't have as much experience, even though he's been there before, even with Philly. All of that just led, unfortunately, into what we knew, and we keep talking about. They're going to capitalize on our mistakes. Let's figure out ways to limit them.
Can you just reflect on the weekend as a whole as you got started, and some of the things that maybe you were happy about, and some of the things you were frustrated about, maybe particularly the strikeouts at the plate?
I'm never real good at those because this one's still too fresh, right? You come in and I'll say we competed well these first 2 games, right? And that's what we want to see every single night. Is we're right in the middle of this fight, right down to the last. I believe that's part of the DNA of this organization, this particular group. So that's something I think we're all going to demand to see. But this was a day where we also needed to get people on the field and be able to take some of the load off the other guys who've been working so hard. Overall, I think when we got ourselves into position to where we could be in that fight, like what we saw, and we got to clean some things up overall. Our walks are scoring at an extremely high rate. Our mistakes are scoring at an extremely high rate. We've talked about this since the very first breath of this season of how we can't afford to give up bases, and we got to make sure we're cleaning that up. Strikeouts, like I said, Danny, I think it's where we are in this season, and you get to see your own guys over and over again, and you get to pick up the break that they have. I think that's going to be something that we're going to be able to adjust to pretty quick, but certainly it's an issue right now.
Have you given an update on Keller, if there's any timeline or any idea on that right now?
Yeah, so we don't have anything right now. He's on track. He texted me last night, and he's trying to push the envelope. We're watching real close. As a matter of fact, we get the data and we get the video feed on what his live sessions are looking like, and he and Junis both are making progress. But there's a plan in place, and I think we're going to try the best we can not to be reactive to whatever we see. Let's be proactive in what's the best possible plan to get you to where you are right, and not just to where you can come out here and then you're kind of chasing your tail. And that's, everybody wants to talk about how quick we have to react in this deal. I get that, but one, we want to make sure they're completely healthy. Two, we want to make sure that they're completely where they would normally be as we come out of the gates for typical spring season, and they're still not quite there.
So as I mentioned, a weekend that indeed it didn't do anything to get everybody all fired up, and now they go to Detroit and play 4 games, and really more the narrative around baseball is the coronavirus and whether this season is going to survive. And there's early warning signs right off the bat, and we hope this isn't a snowball effect, and maybe it's just part of the process, and we knew there were going to be positive tests, but whether they're going to completely impact an entire team not being able to play and postponements left and right, and then maybe them looking at it and saying, we just can't do this, we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, on the schedule for 4 days in Detroit before the Royals home opener on Friday. We hope the Kansas City Royals do that. It's the nature of baseball. One thing that was interesting from just a pure baseball standpoint, we have only played 3 games for most teams, 4 for a couple, only 1 series, and a couple of those series extend into Monday. And as of just this little sample size in baseball, there are no undefeated teams and no winless teams already in baseball. And that's certainly one of the storylines baseball-wise. Another one, perhaps, is how people are reacting when they haven't had full preparation for a season. Maybe it is indeed just coincidence. Maybe it's not. But 3 very impactful pitchers in baseball either had very poor performances or looked like they got hurt. Corey Kluber lasted just an inning for the Texas Rangers. Justin Verlander has a forearm strain that usually is an indication that he's got an elbow problem, which often leads to a situation where you have to have Tommy John surgery. And Shohei Ohtani, who I talked about last week as a fun story for his Sunday pitching days, well, he didn't even record an out in his particular start, and his fastball, which can reach the upper 90s, was only 93 miles an hour. So some warning signs about the readiness of players to play baseball. And one other thing that's being looked at, especially in the wake of what's gone on with the Phillies, is that we saw some of the regular old celebrations and dogpile type things after walk-offs that we've seen in the past, and high-fiving left and right and post-game celebrations. And I think they're just, if they're going to continue to play baseball, they're really going to have to crack down on that particular aspect of things. We'll just see how it plays out, and we'll see if we're even talking about baseball games come our next Monday Musings-Danny SportsWrap next week. Well, pretty successfully, although 2 teams didn't make the trip, has been the MLS is Back tournament. And we'll talk about Sporting Kansas City. We'll talk about the NFL. We'll talk about the NBA a little bit coming up straight ahead as we continue with Monday Musings-Danny SportsWrap right here.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the CEO and president of Easton Roofing. And Joe, you had a great year in 2019, a record year. 2020 comes, things are moving smoothly along, and then the coronavirus comes. But your company seemed to be very ready, very proactive, and very ready to serve your customers well.
Yeah, we adopted social distancing very early before the cities even put out the notices. And we started working from home. We are largely cloud-based as a company, so that transition was easy. Our technicians are wearing masks and gloves, and salespeople are not meeting with homeowners. We're doing everything digitally and doing everything we can to do our part to get over this as quickly as possible.
So for any needs that people have right now, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can always call us, 913-257-5426. But the best way is to go to eastonroofing.com, put your information in, and we'll give you a call.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters. Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Vision's goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300. We're visiting with Larry Marshall, former Chiefs defensive back and punt returner and now a Chiefs ambassador. Larry is a former pro football player with the aches and pains that come with that, and moving on in age as we all are. What do the Canaway CBD products do for you?
It's been a great relief for me. Being a punt and kickoff returner, collisions were a mainstay of my career, and these Canaway products, the salve especially, has really helped me try to get through every day with the aches and pains that I've had over a career of 7+ years in the NFL.
I get similar benefits as well, particularly with my back. Certainly wasn't a football player. What's the best way for our listeners to get more information about the great products themselves?
Well, I'm so enthused about it, Dana. If they just contacted me at larrymarshall.canaway.com, and I can give them all the information they need to help them get through the day as well.
Start gaining all the benefits that Larry and I do from the trusted and reliable line of Canaway products. As Larry said, visit larrymarshall.canaway.com and get information on all the great products from Canaway. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Welcome back, and you might be a little bleary-eyed this morning if you're a MLS soccer fan of Sporting Kansas City, because you had to stay up till almost 1 o'clock in the morning to see how Sporting Kansas City would play out their game against the Vancouver Whitecaps. And just think about it for the Sporting players. This game started at 11 o'clock Eastern time. It was almost 2 in the morning when they're finishing up that game, and Sporting completely dominated the proceedings, although I think the numbers were perhaps a little bit inflated as far as when you watch the quality of the play that was concerned. It seemed to me like a little more even than what you might think as far as the statistics of the match were concerned, were Sporting KC, which was the dominant team in this, don't get me wrong. But they put 36 shots on net. That's the 36 shots, period. That wasn't on net. My God. They would have scored 15 goals. But anyway, 36 shots, that's the fourth highest total in MLS history. 8 of those were on goal. Vancouver only had 8 shots, but 5 of those were on goal. It certainly was a rather fantastic performance by the goalkeeper for Vancouver. And Thomas Hasal was part of the story overall. Sporting KC was an almost unbelievably overwhelming favorite in this game. Vancouver has had players sent home. They have a couple of very significant players who were injured. They were down to one goalkeeper, Hasal, a third keeper. He actually got hurt a little bit during the match and hung in there and stayed in past the concussion protocol. If he hadn't, and he played with a sort of a cut on his nose the rest of the way, they would have had to use a field player as a keeper in this particular game. But a goodly portion of his 8 saves were of the spectacular variety. So Sporting couldn't get anything past him in regulation, and they went to penalty kicks, and Vancouver didn't exactly cover themselves with glory there. Tim Melia is a good penalty kick stopper, but a couple of the attempts weren't particularly good for Vancouver. One just plain missed, hit the woodwork, and a couple other were rather easy saves, but Melia did have to guess properly on that. Sporting made 3 out of their 4. That was good enough, and they win the game. Peter Vermees was very happy with his team, particularly complimentary of the fact that they were good on defense. And I thought that it was a dominant performance, but maybe not as dominant as you'll be reading or hearing from people, or maybe if you didn't watch the match and you're just looking at the comments or the statistics, you might think that it was just overwhelming barrage and that Vancouver wasn't doing anything the entire game. That wasn't the case. Another couple of notes for me, Johnny Russell, who has in 1 or 2 of the games not started since the restart, since the MLS is back. He was certainly an impactful player and looked every bit the mint Johnny Russell in this game. Really was dangerous on multiple counts. And so Sporting, in this round of 16, moves on to the quarterfinals. They will play on Thursday against Philadelphia. That should be a great match. It should not be the type of match we saw last night where Vancouver is bunkering in, trying to absorb pressure, and which they did successfully. Philadelphia is a much more aggressive team. We should see a more wide-open two-way game. Certainly the game was wide open for Sporting last night, and they get the result, and they are moving on to the quarterfinals. The ultimate prize in this, of course, is money, but also they get a CONCACAF Champions League slot if they were to win the MLS is Back tournament. The NFL news comes in the form of a memo that this is the biggest story of the day in the NFL, that if players are in a position where they test negative a couple times before they enter training camp and then get the virus, that would be listed as a football-related injury, because obviously they would have contracted the virus, or at least by testing procedures, while they were engaged in football activities. But there also is a memo out that says the NFL has the right, or will at least have to assess, whether they can not pay a player if he engages in what's called high-risk conduct. The conduct in the NFL defining it as an indoor nightclub with more than 15 people that is attended, an indoor bar with more than 15 people other than to pick up food, an indoor house party with more than 15 people, an indoor music concert / entertainment event with more than 15 people, a professional sporting event with more than 15 people, and an indoor religious service attended by more than 25% of a venue's capacity. They're doing everything they can in this particular situation to try and make this successful. But what we are starting to see in baseball is that the sport that has been in a bubble, soccer, has worked so far. We'll see how it goes in the NBA. The sport that has not been contested in a bubble, the Major League Baseball, is having early problems. NFL is a little bit different. They only play once a week. Travel is not as extensive, to say the least. But at the outset, this is part of the news for the NFL, and we'll see how that shakes out. Looks like after some rumblings over the past week or so that training camp is going to begin, and going to begin relatively on time, and it looks like the two sides are coming together to at least start the process of trying to play professional football on time. The NBA is in a bubble, and they're going to start up on Thursday, we hope. But of course, there's always news around this, and one in particular is a story that either is reflective of the times or a little bit funny or whatever. Lou Williams, player for the Los Angeles Clippers, who have had all kinds of different issues as far as them getting set to play in the NBA. He has to go into a 10-day quarantine because he tested positive for the virus, and he was spotted, various different ways of looking at this, at a gentleman's club, according to one source. And then the person who took the picture, as a rapper of Williams there, said it was an old picture of them, but the picture shows Williams wearing a mask, so it can't be too old a picture. Then another particular source on this story says that Williams said he was just going to the gentleman's club to pick up food. He says that he was going to another restaurant to pick up food. Another story said that he likes the wings at the gentleman's club. This is sort of a very high-end version of saying that you like to go to Hooters because you like the wings. Fancy gentleman's club, apparently he likes the wings. Now, it depends on who you want to believe or what story you want to believe, but the bottom line news is that Lou Williams is one of the players who did leave the bubble, and then contracted the virus, or at least tested positive for the virus, and now he is going to be in quarantine. And a lot of players have left the bubble for one reason or another, personal reasons, family emergencies, things like that. And some people have just snuck out. And I think that we are going to have to see how these things shake out. We haven't heard really reports of that as far as MLS is concerned, but of course MLS is a less high-profile sport, and every little thing is not reported perhaps as much as it is in the NBA. But come Thursday night, as of now, NBA action is slated to be in a bubble, but being played and in their unusual setup to play some games for seeding purposes and then on to the playoffs. NHL a little bit down the road as far as that is concerned. We started to get the feeling as the weekend began that maybe we were going to be talking more about just competition and maybe a little bit less about the coronavirus. Can't avoid it. They're all intertwined, and another week will play out, and we'll see how things day by day, minute by minute, hour by hour affect things as we, so far, really unsuccessfully battle the coronavirus, even as we try to return to some sense of normalcy. And at least for tonight, Major League Baseball for the Kansas City Royals fans will be on your television, even though the announcers will be somewhere else describing the action. And Royals in Detroit this evening to play some ball, as everything is so complicated, but we're giving it a go in the world of sports and trying to make things happen. And, of course, during the course of the week, we make things happen in a variety of ways. We've got music podcasts this week on Wednesday, great profile on Friday, all the things that you get at DannyKlinkscale.com, blog or two, essay or two. I enjoy you coming along and enjoying the content, and please continue to do so and spread the word about DannyKlinkscale.com and the Reasonably Irreverent podcast, and I will bid you adieu for now.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like
Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Klinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters.
We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.